Do a video about the Teeside area now in England's port area. Okay, I'm going to mention Ben Huchin. Sorry, Ben, if I've pronounced your name wrong. I'm not saying Ben is involved in any criminal activity directly. I'm just going to show you evidential links in relation to this area and the fraud that I have uncovered. This is really, really important as well because it links back, I suspect, to the Gaza conflict that is happening now, and you'll see why at the end. So Ben Huchin. Okay, he is a British Conservative Party politician who was elected as Tees Valley Mayor in May 2017 after winning the 2017 mayoral election, defeating Labour candidate Sue Jeffrey. Huchin represents the 5 Tees Valley local authority areas of Middlesbrough, Stockton-on-Tees, Redcar, Cleveland, Hartlepool and Darlington. He also acts as chairman of the Tees Valley Combined Authority. Huchin was nominated for a life peerage in Boris Johnson's resignation honours in June 2023. On the 12th of July 2023, he was created Baron Huchin of High Leven. He was also introduced to the House of the Lords on the 24th of July 2023. He sits in the Lords for the Conservative Party. He made his maiden speech on the November 2023. I'll show you the evidential links in a minute. The South Tees Development Corporation, STD, is the first mayoral development corporation outside of London, chaired by Huchin. In relation to the Teeside International Airport there, Ben was involved in this. Losses at the airport grew to £30.3 million from 2019 to 2022. Huchin was ploughing a further £30 million of public spending money into the airport. Now remember, public taxpayers spending money is being defrauded in relation to this. Everything suggests that is the case. In January 2019, Huchin announced that a deal had been reached to acquire 1,420 acres of the land on the STDC site from Tata Steel Europe. I believe that's an Indian company. The acquisition was signed off in February 2019. Ben announced that a £40 million pound deal to buy the airport had been reached with the Peel Group. Now, the Peel Group are connected to this system of fraud through Companies House records. So I'm just trying to read it as I'm doing it. It's not the best situation, but in November 2023, Huchin proposed the STDC area as a potential location for the Las Vegas-style Sphere venue after London Mayor Sadiq Khan blocked proposals for the MSG Sphere in London. In 2023, Huchin was criticised after it emerged that a 90% stake in the company that operates the vacant Redcar Steelworks site, Tees Work, was transferred to 2 local developers, Chris Musgrove and Martin Corney. And here we go. These are some news articles. That was all from Wikipedia. This was an article back in, hopefully I got the date, May 2021. Tory Mayor Ben Huchin tied to a firm in £800,000 VAT case. This was from 22nd of November 2023. New expected date for a report into claims of corruption and illegality at Tees Works. So that's the Teeside area that we're talking about. So you can see it's been highlighted as being an area of concern. An investigation was launched in June amid allegations of cronyism and corruption surrounding finances at the Redcar site. The claims are vehemently denied by Tees Valley Mayor Ben Huchin. There's another article, Tees Work. When was this from? 18th of May 2023, I believe. Tees Work. No police investigation in Huchin defence process. We'll get to the point of this in a minute. Cleveland Police has confirmed that there has been no investigation. There's been no investigations into Tees Works. Last month, Labour. Now, this gentleman sounds like a good guy, and he was on the right track. He probably didn't know what I know through my research. Last month, Labour Middlesbrough MP Andy MacDonald alleged industrial-scale corruption at the Freeport, so that's in the Teeside area. In response to a Tees Works spokesman urged him to report it to the police if he believes criminal offence had occurred. Obviously, you'll see all my other evidence the police are involved. Certainly high-level officers within the police, it appears they're involved. A spokesman for the force has now confirmed it had not received any complaints and no investigation has taken place or are ongoing into Tees Works, the South Tees Development Corporation. The local Democracy Reporting Service also asked the Serious Fraud Office whether an investigation was ongoing, but as per its standards policy, it would neither confirm nor deny. Now remember, Serious Fraud Office, the former head of that has been removed, and links suggest through Companies House that they are involved. Levelling up, Mr. Dehenna, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Dehenna Davison was also responded to Mr. MacDonald on behalf of the government this week after requesting a meeting to discuss his concerns. She said they'd seen no evidence of corruption or wrongdoing or illegality. We'll talk about that lady in a moment. At Prime Minister's Question Time, Conservative Middlesbrough South and East Cleveland MP Simon Clarke claimed Mr. MacDonald had led a shameful attempt to smear the Freeport scheme. No, he was on to the right. He was on to what was correct. In fact, he didn't realise how big this is. This week, Labour's Shadow Levelling Up Secretary Lisa Nandy wrote to National Audit Office Chief Gareth Davies to demand full investigation into Tees Works. Later the same day, Mr. Houchen wrote to Mr. Davies and Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove to also call for a review. We'll look at Michael Gove in a minute. Now, these articles are all in the last, I believe, what is it now, January I think they were in December time. There's another article here. Protected. Teeside is the fraud and asset stripping hub of the corrupt establishment. 3 years ago this was mentioned. We'll get to all the evidence in a minute. Now let's look at Dehenna Davison. She was born, I won't say that, but she is a British Conservative Party politician and former broadcaster. She's been the Member of Parliament for Bishop Auckland since 2019 general election. She serves as Parliamentary Secretary. And this is the lady here. I'm not saying she's directly involved in fraud at school. Interestingly, and probably relevantly, she was born to a stonemason and nursery nurse in Sheffield, Davison. On the 25th of November 2022, Davison announced that she would stand down as an MP at the next general election, citing the need to have a lifestyle outside of politics. Or she realised this fraud was going to be uncovered. The 18th of September 2020, she resigned. September 20. Interestingly, GB News, Davison was co-host of the Political Correction on GB News on Sunday mornings between 2021 and September 2022. As you know, Nigel Farage is linked to GB News, and you'll see on my evidence that that is all connected as well. And Nigel appears to be connected. I'm not saying Nigel or any of these people are directly involved in fraud. I'm just showing you the links through Companies House and news articles that suggest that their affiliated companies are connected to this. So let's look at Michael Gove. Remember, they've gone to Michael Gove to try and say, look, come on, what's happening with Teeside? There's fraud. Let's look at Michael Gove. Now, these are his Companies House records. You'll see that he was a company linked to Policy Exchange Limited, okay, in 2022 until 2006, sorry. Policy Exchange Limited. Let's look at this company. So they were incorporated in 2021. They were still active at the time of this document and they put it together. They were originally, according to Companies House records, called Quest Now Limited, and here's their incorporation document. Okay, these are now legal documents, public documents that anyone can look at, and I do suggest you all go and look at it. Watch my other videos, but you can see this was started with Swift Incorporation Limited and Jordan's Limited, which are not even legal entities. Swift appears to have used names that aren't even related to the company, false names to incorporate. Jordan's leads to an incorporation document with a completely different company name that's not even been registered anywhere with Companies House, and that means they're not legal entities, and any companies that use them are also not legal entities. And of course, Michael Gove would have known that, Companies House would have known that. I'll lead you to draw your own conclusions of what that is. Here we go, incorporation documents continued. So obviously it means if they're not real companies, they're not legal entities, they can't be, or it's very difficult to find them accountable for criminal or civil litigation in relation to illegitimate activity. It's very difficult to prosecute a company if they're not legal, if they don't exist, or people on there don't exist, or the addresses don't that they've given don't relate to the company. I know I keep repeating this, but it's important that you understand that. So this is now research in relation to Michael Gove. You can see that he was he had various positions under Prime Ministers David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. I've done videos, you'll see about some of those. This is Michael Gove. I'm not saying Michael Gove is involved directly in any fraud, okay, but he would know this system. Okay, you can see there's various newspaper articles that Mr. Gove worked for, and you'll see all of these are mentioned in my videos in relation to the media. Okay, he was on good terms with the owner of the paper, Rupert Murdoch. The owner of paper, Rupert Murdoch. He co-founded Policy Exchange, as we've already looked at. This is all about Michael Gove, as you can see. December 2005 and to April 2006, Gove claimed more than £7,000 on a house bought with his wife, Sarah Vine. In 2002, around a third of the money was spent at OKA, an upmarket interior design company established by Annabel Astor, David Cameron's mother-in-law. Having misrepresented the cost in February 2011, he had told Parliament that one individual had made £1 million in 1 year when the true figure was £700,000 for 5 advisors. This is in relation to school educational employees, I believe, in March 2011. Architects have misrepresented the cost. You can look at these yourself, research this yourself. In December 2016, Gove defended the Vote Leave claim. Now, Vote Leave is linked to this fraud. An additional £350 million a week could be spent on NHS when Britain left. Now remember, public taxpayers spending money. Mr Gove is saying let's pump loads more money into the NHS. We shouldn't need to if this fraud isn't happening. Despite this, Gove decided to support the Leave campaign. At the beginning of March 2016, he was appointed co-convener of Vote Leave. Gove was part of a committee of cabinet ministers comprising Johnson, Rishi Sunak and Matt Hancock that made decisions on the COVID-19 pandemic. He was the chair of the COVID-19 operations subcommittee, and we know what a mess that was, and it is all linked through to this fraud. Watch my health video. Gove was found to have acted unlawfully when the government awarded a COVID-19 contract without a tender to a polling company owned by long-term associates of his and Dominic Cummings, then Johnson's chief advisor. Let's look at Vote Leave. Remember, I just mentioned that. This is the Company's House records for it. Vote Leave Limited, incorporated. This is when. There you go. Sorry, it was incorporated in 2015, dissolved in 2022. This was the original company name for it. That's what it's registered as originally. Company's House between September 2015. Look at the dates. From the 18th to the 21st of September, it had that name. And then they changed it. But let's look who's connected to it. We've got David Halsall. I'm not saying these people are involved in fraud directly. I'm just showing you evidential connections. David Halsall, here you go. You can see he's linked to a company called Royal Lytham and St Anne's Golf Club Land Holdings Limited. This is their incorporation on Company's House records, their registration in Lancashire. And there you go. You can see that it's got a original incorporation name on the incorporation document as Circle Source Limited, but that has not been reflected at all. Okay, you normally have it at the bottom here. You would have the names that it was originally incorporated under, and then a change of name as you went through to the now name that it can be searched under. That has not been put deliberately. And again, I'll repeat this, but that Company's House would have seen this document, would have known to have input that company name, but they haven't. And as you can see, Swift Incorporated Limited, that is not a legally incorporated company, has been used to start it. So you can see it's all linked through to Mr Gove's affiliated companies. Now let's look at Simon Clarke. Remember we mentioned him earlier. He was mentioned as criticising Mr McDonald for saying that Teeside was involved in industrial scale fraud. He was absolutely right. But let's look at Simon Clarke. Why would he have been defending Teeside? Let's have a look. So he's a British politician who's been a Member of Parliament for Middlesbrough South and East Cleveland since 2017. Here he is. I'm not saying he's involved directly in any fraud. Okay, he said he supported regenerative measures undertaken by private initiatives in his constituency, such as the reopening and expanding of Teeside International Airport alongside alongside the Tees Valley Mayor's plans to redevelop the SSI Steelworks site. Now remember, that is Ben Houchen. Now let's look at we're looking now at Simon Clarke's interests. Okay, so benefits and hospitality from UK sources. He at some point received tickets to a football club. Let's look at that football club, Middlesbrough Football and Athletic Club 1986 Limited. Here they are in Middlesbrough. These are their registration records on Company's House. So you can see they were called, according to this, Black Play Limited. So let's look at Black Play Limited. Here we go. Linked through that company record, you can see at the top, it's the same company. You've got Jeremy Bloom. Now, if you look under his correspondence address, Bulk Hall Limited. Let's look at Bulk Hall Limited. You can see all the evidential links. Here's Bulk Limited, incorporated in 1981. If we look at their incorporation document now, this is a legal document. You see Bulk Limited. In the corner here, you've got Express Company Registrations Limited. And then City Road. Remember, if you look at all my videos carefully, watch them a few times if need be. I know they're boring. City Road frequently pops up. Let's look at, so that's just the end of the incorporation document. One of them. Let's look at Express Company Registrations Limited. So that's what comes up when you search it. Here we go, Express Company Registrations Limited. Let's look at their incorporation. Here you go. You can see. Remember, Temple frequently comes up. We've got another address with Temple in it. First floor, Temple back, 10 Temple, Bristol. Again, remember, watch my other videos. You'll see. And this company was incorporated in 1964. And there is I could not see an incorporation document, so it has been removed, as far as I can see, from there. That's probably to avoid any liability. But looking through their Company's House records, through the People tab, you can do this. I urge you to go and look at it yourself. You can see a company called Express Limited linked to it, the West of England Trust Limited, and there you go, is Jason Anthony Burgoyne. You'll see from my other videos he's linked to Vistra. And Express Company is also linked to Jordan Company Secretaries. Now, if we look up Teeside Freeport, okay, it was mentioned earlier, let's look at Teeside Freeport. Britain's best connected trade region located in the northeast of England, the Teeside Freeport is the UK's best connected freeport, unlocking global markets and trade hubs. Now, that will, of course, be through shipping containers and cargo ships. We'll come to that in a minute. It's really important how that links into the Gaza conflict. Now, Teeside Freeport is the largest freeport in the United Kingdom where special arrangements apply for taxation and customs. Launched in 2021. Teesworks, a former steelworks described as Europe's largest brown site. Okay, so this is just showing some Wikipedia links through this area. Politicians and the media have criticised Teesworks for possible pollution of the Tees in the context of an unexplained shellfish die-off near Teeside and for a perceived lack of transparency in transfer of assets. The corporate structure behind the Freeport includes multiple subsidiary companies, of which several have local business owners. Chris Musgrave and Martin Corney as directors. MPs have alleged that significant assets have been transferred to these directors without a formal tendering process. We'll see why that is. Well, you can see it. On 24th May 2023, 2 inquiries were announced, one with limited scope of the National Audit Office, the second independent. On the same day, the Freeport's director, Nolan Gray, announced that he was leaving. Why would he be leaving? The South Tees Development Corporation is the first mayoral development, we've already said that, outside of Greater London, established under the Cities and Local Government Devolution Act 2016. Here they are. Again, this is Wikipedia, you can see at the top. So the Teeside's management offices are Redcar. Okay, so Redcar is linked through to them. There are 16 members of the Tees Valley Mayor. That is Ben Houchen, leader of Redcar and Cleveland Borough Council, and the Mayor of Middlesbrough, have statutory posts on the board. Here the council's linked to it. Now let's look at Redcar and Cleveland Enterprise Limited, okay, that comes up when you search for Redcar. Their incorporation in 1988. Their previous company name, according to this, was Landbach on Tees. I'm pronounced that completely wrong, I apologise. Tees Development Agency Limited, that was on the 22nd of February 1996. 14th December 1988 to 1996. Let's look at their incorporation document. So here they are, you can see that has been correctly input. Anything, just checking it against this thing, yeah, that's absolutely correct. You'll see quite often on the videos this name will be very slightly different to what it's actually registered on. That is another legality issue that Company House would be aware of. So these are incorporation documents. I've highlighted that bit on the top for some reason. That was it, yeah, just showing this person here. So Brian Brooks Coldwell is linked, you can see, on the incorporation documents. Here is again at the bottom. Brian Brooks Coldwell, sorry. And then you can see there's a company called ICI and Polymers. I can't even speak. ICI Chemicals and Polymers Limited. Let's look at them. ICI Chemicals and Polymers Limited. You can see I've tabbed through, so all I've gone into overview. You can look at, here's all the tabs, I've shown this in other videos. You can see a company here, the Axo Noble building. Okay, it's put as a correspondence address. This is their previous company name, though. We'll come to that in a minute. This is their previous company name, British Nylon Spinners Limited. Here we go. This is the incorporation. British Nylon Spinners Limited. Okay. Back in 1940, that was. So now let's look at. Remember, we said Axo Noble. They're headquartered in Amsterdam. The company has activities in more than 150 countries. Axo Noble is the world's third largest plant manufacturer by revenue. Okay. Now remember, this all links through. They're linked to International Paint Limited, owned by Axo Noble, were fined £650,000 in order to pay costs of £144,000 in a prosecution brought by the Environment Agency for allowing the banned highly toxic chemical tributyltin to be released into the River Elm estuary due to high revenues from the sales of pharmaceutical business. Now remember, you'll see my video on health, pharmaceuticals, vaccines, all through to this. Due to the high revenues from sales of pharmaceutical business, Axo Noble was the world's most profitable company in 2008. This part of the business is mostly and geographically organised into Europe, Middle East and Africa, and then Latin America and Asia. Axo Noble markets their products under various brand names such as Dulux, Hammerite, you can see in there, and various others you might notice. Now let's look at their company, Axo Noble Limited. They have an address. There you go. You can see Axo Noble building, so we know it's the same building as on the other registration. And their original name was Merge Brand Public Limited Company. And then they changed to Axo Noble UK Holdings PLC. So here's the incorporation, Merge Brand Public Limited. One of the incorporations, lo and behold, incorporation document is Swift Incorporation Limited. Now it's important to notice on all my videos, this section here is normally split into two lines. You see this top box where the company name is. There's normally a line going across the middle here. There's obvious doctoring of the documents on other videos. You'll see this one isn't so obvious, but it's possible that this has been blanked out deliberately to allow the company names to be changed to cover up this fraud. Okay, that is absolutely possible. But that aside, you can see Swift Incorporation Limited, Jordan's Limited linked to that company. They are not legally incorporated companies if the details on their incorporation are not correct, which appears to be the case, or false details have been given. There you go, you can see Jordan's again is linked to it. Okay. So let's look at another company linked to them. So obviously it's the same company, but they have another company name that's linked to them. This happens a lot. You have shell companies, Axo Noble Holdings Limited. You can see they've got a care of address, okay, of Tenio Financial Advisory Limited. Tenio, we'll come to that in a minute, so it all links through. But you can see, interestingly, in 1983 they were incorporated, and at the time of this document, when they put this together, they were going into liquidation. Could well be because I've been reporting this fraud and they're trying to get out whilst they can. But you can see they were given a company name right at the beginning. They had a name of Trust Shelf Co, number 578 Limited. And this is quite often done as shell company creation. It's lawful by the government, this is. But remember, falsification of details on Companies House isn't lawful. Companies House doctoring documents is not lawful. Not registering companies deliberately to cause a loss to anyone through this fraud is not lawful. Remember, there is crime through all of this, but you can see they have given a sequential number to a company, and that actually happens a lot. Trust Shelf Co is one that comes up very frequently, which shows that they're all linked through. So let's look at Tenio anyway. It's a public regulations and advisory company. Tenio, this is on Wikipedia, you can see. So it's World Cup, but it's based in New York City. Okay, so it's an American-based company. Has been subject of controversy primarily over its extensive ties to the Clinton family and the leveraging of those ties for its business purposes. Tony Blair and Bill Clinton were both announced as members of Teneo's advisory board, with Clinton later becoming a client and paid advisor to Teneo and its founders. Clinton was paid $2.5 million per year in the role. Clinton departed from the role in March 2012. By the summer of 2012, the firm's clients included Dow Chemical, Coca-Cola, UBS Americas, and Standard Chartered. By 2013, the firm's relationship with the Clinton family had become a point of controversy for the press, as well as some Republican Party politicians. So we now have a link to Bill Clinton and Tony Blair in relation to this fraudulent system. So through the companies, I'm not saying they're directly involved in fraud, however, they appear to be linked to companies that possibly are. Founding partner Declan Donat has been criticised for using his time as a State Department under Hillary Clinton to pursue ventures that involved into the founding of Teneo, despite potential conflicts of interest. Among the Podesta emails were emails that mentioned the money Teneo had raised for the Clintons, including $8 million for the Clinton Foundation, $3 million for Bill Clinton in speaking fees. In February 2021, Teneo acquired the UK restructuring business unit of Deloitte. December 2021, Teneo hired Gabby Salzberger as the firm's chair. In March 2021, The Times reported an understanding that Craig Oliver, then a Teneo employee and former cabinet member of David Cameron, I've done a video on David Cameron, had promoted Greensill. I've done a video on that, links through to this fraudulent system. A former Teneo client at the time, Cameron was accused of performing lobbying activities on behalf of Greensill, and Teneo had 3 of Cameron's former colleagues on staff as advisors. In response, Teneo refuted that Oliver had lobbied for Greensill to anyone in government. Oliver left Teneo in October 2021. So you can see this whole elaborate system and who it is linked through to. On June 2nd, and remember, there is absolute crime against the public in relation to this. On June 2024, it was reported by the Financial Times that Chairman and CEO Declan Kelly had inappropriately touched six women at a Global Citizens Charity fundraising event in May. And there's lots of sexual offences linked through to this, and paedophile offences as well, which you'll see in my other videos. It's all links through to this fraudulent system. It must stop. On June 2019, it was announced that Declan Kelly had resigned from Teneo. This can't go on. This cannot go on. In March 2021, Teneo acquired KPMG's restructuring business in Bermuda to bring Teneo's financial advisor business to a headcount of over 350. They are linked through in my research. In early January 2023, Teneo announced the appointment of Jeff Morrell in the role of the President of Global Strategy and Communications. He formerly served as executive positions communications at Disney, BP, it's linked, you'll see my videos, watch my Nicola Bulley video, BP, British Petroleum, and the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence for Public Affairs and the Press Secretary of the US Department of Defence. Remember, you have BAE Systems Limited, linked to Nicola Bulley's husband. Previously, look at my video on Nicola Bulley. Teneo purchased PR firm Tolchen in the United Kingdom in January. Also early 2000, Teneo opened an office in Amsterdam in Netherlands again. Remember that? Teneo is known for hiring top-level former politicians as senior advisors, including Huma Abedin, George J. Mitchell, and the former Senator Chris Budd, a top advisor to President Joe Biden. Now let's look at Teneo Limited on Companies House records. They were incorporated in 2000, still active at the time of this. They were given a sequential number look for a company, Broomco 2073. Okay, but only from February to March they had that name, okay? So someone created this company for a very short period of time before it changed names. You can see this is their incorporation documents now. 2073. And again, you can see, now this has been added in pen. Everything else has been typed. Okay, but this has been deliberately allowed to alter and change this number. Plus also, it's important to recognise, but the others are more obvious, a forged document. I'm not saying this is, but the line would normally run through the middle of this, and you'll see that from my other videos. Watch the health video that I'm doing, and also the one on David Cameron. You'll see the... Okay, so Let's look at this. We're still looking at this same incorporation document. And you can see that Lupton Allsop is linked to this incorporation document. And you've also got DLA Secretarial Services Limited, DLA nominees. That's really important to remember, DLA Secretarial, DLA nominees. Now remember, there's over 5 million companies. The chance of me coming to the same one through this very simple research is impossible, unless there is validity in this research in relation to fraud. You can see same incorporation document, or those same directors are linked to all of these same shell companies. You can see they've just been given a different number in the middle. Okay, so it's a classic method. You create hundreds of companies to move money around. You can shut them down if there's any worry that they could be found accountable for anything potentially. DLA Secretarial Services Limited. This is looking on the same incorporation documents. So let's look at DLA, which comes up, DLA Piper UK Secretarial Services. They were incorporated in 1991, still active at the time of me doing these research. You can see here they are, DLA Secretarial Services Limited was one of their company names between 1997 and 2005. It was also given a Broom Co sequential number. Okay. So let's look at DLA again. This is the incorporation documents. DLA. Now this dress, it's important to note, this pops up a lot. There's probably a handful of, I want to say 25, maybe 30 addresses that frequently come up. Bearing in mind there's millions of addresses, millions of companies. These addresses do frequently pop up in my research. So now let's go back. Can't move the screen. Let's zoom out a little bit actually. So you can see on the incorporation documents, you have, this is right, yeah, you have a Neil Micklethwaite. Now he's been put down as a list of members on incorporation, okay? So you have to have a director, at least a director, okay? So one of these people should be listed on Companies House Register. These crop up a lot, these names. This is just the incorporation document. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, so who are DLA? Well, they are a law firm with offices in over 40 countries throughout the Americas, Asia Pacific, Europe, Africa and the Middle East. In 2021, it was the third largest law firm in the United States. They were first apparently formed in 1764. Now they are, this is important to notice, a Swiss variant company. Now with Swiss bank accounts, obviously you've probably heard this, they are considered, or certainly were, and I think they still are considered some sort of tax haven to avoid paying taxes. DLA Piper was formed in January 2005 by a merger between three law firms, San Diego-based Gray, Carey, Ware and Friedenrich, that's a German sounding name, LLP, or Swiss or Austrian, Baltimore-based Piper LLP, based DVLA, United Kingdom-based DLA LLP. It's composed of two partnerships, the United Kingdom-based DLA Piper International LLP and the United States-based DLA Piper LLP. The two partnerships share a single global board and are structured as a Swiss variant. Or Vereen, I've probably pronounced the name wrong. DLA Piper's origins can be traced back to four law firms: Dibb Lupton, we've already mentioned them, Allsop Stevens, Piper Marbury and Rudnock and Wolfe. Dibb Lupton Broomhead was a UK law firm that was formed in 1988 after a merger of Dibb Lupton and Broomhead and Neils. In 1996, the firm merged with the Liverpool-based law firm Alsop Wilkinson and became a Dibb Lupton Allsop DLA. I know this video is long, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to show you all the evidence. Friedenrich, the merger created one of the largest law firms in the world at the time and the largest firm in the UK. 2006, the firm's name was shortened to DLA Piper. As you can see, they've amalgamated all these huge companies being centralised, and I think the plan is to digitise currency and enable this fraud to continue. Throughout this period, the firm continued to grow, opening offices in various locations such as Mexico City, the Middle East, Asia Pacific. This is a nationwide thing, you can see. The firm also grew in the Australasian region. DLA Piper expanded in the Middle Eastern presence by opening an outpost in Doha, Qatar, later opening office in Abu Dhabi in 2008. 2008, DLA Piper opened an office in Kuwait. So you can see it's a worldwide centralisation of legal companies. Now, if they're all involved in this fraud and they digitise currency in relation to taxation, and they're using fraud and fake bank documents, you can see what's going to happen. 2010, DLA Piper represented Paul, I'm not going to pronounce that, in his claim he hired Mark Zuckerberg to create a website that became Facebook, and that under the agreement he was entitled to ownership of 84% of Facebook, then worth multiple billions of dollars. Zuckerberg and Facebook responded that had hired Zuckerberg, so there was some sort of court case in relation to Facebook, in relation to DLA Piper. Okay, let's look at Dib Lupton Broomhead Limited. Okay, remember we mentioned them a moment ago. You can see they were incorporated in 1991, dissolved in 2017. Again, they had a Broomco number originally. Okay, so you can see this was all started up with the same. You had a company that incorporated all of these companies, and then they've then used this to amalgamate into this system. Now let's look at Instant Companies Limited. Okay, and this links in. So you can see Vistra Companies Secretaries Limited is linked under Instant Companies. You can see that Gavin Collery, who was on the application to dissolve Swift Incorporations Limited, if you watched my other video, he was on there. And Vistra Limited is here. Now Vistra Limited is incorporated here, okay, but they're incorporated under a name that does not exist. Harman Limited. That does not even exist anywhere. It has to exist. Companies House have to have registered this with Companies House, but yet that does not exist. That means it is an illegal entity, which means any company using Jordan's, which is the same company. By the way, this Vistra Limited, you'll see on my other videos, was called Jordan's and Sons Limited, then it was called Jordan's Limited, and then it was called Vistra, so they're all the same company. Okay, which means they're an illegal entity. Now let's look at Shaw and Sons. Remember, Shaw and Sons is on the bottom of, where is it? On the bottom of one of these other documents somewhere. So Shaw and Sons. So they were, I can read this. No, can't read that document for some reason. You can see Shaw and Sons has got Michael Burgoyne Johnson. Now the other company has a surname of Burgoyne, first name Jason, very similar. But that company that's linked to this person, okay, was started using Swift Incorporations Limited. Now linked through from Shaw and Sons Limited, you can see DLA Secretarial. Now remember, we've mentioned DLA Piper. Okay, that's how this links through. This is associated to DLA Piper and the previous links that we were looking at. DLA Secretarial Services Limited. Now these last few screens, you can see from the edge here, this is previous research that I've done from my company. Bearing in mind there's over 5 million companies, and that links to forged bank documents. So we've now in fact, the last few pages, you can see from these outlines, this is where I've screenshot other documents I've done. Okay, and the overlap now goes through to my company. So you can see how this all links. Now remember, the documents that I've acquired are forged Lloyds Bank documents that I have evidence to show has been produced by the Treasury Department of Lloyds Bank. And here we are, we now have a link through this system, okay, that started with Ben Hoochin and the Teeside Valley development area, okay, where fraud is already being highlighted by an MP, and let's hope he's a good MP, Mr. McDonald. It seems like he is, but he's being knocked back, and here we are. It's already linking through to my company, even though there's over 5 million companies. And you can see DLA Secretarial Limited links through to Lloyds Bank's affiliated companies. Lloyds Housing Support Limited, you can see DLA Secretarial at the top. So you can see already we're linking through. You can see this was given a Broomco number as well. Lloyds Nominees, Lloyds America Limited, and this is Lloyds America's registration here. You can see they had an original name of Storewarn Limited for less than a month. less than a month, I don't know. They were started with Swift Incorporation Limited. Remember, an illegal entity, if fake names have been used, which it appears as though they have, because they haven't been registered in Companies House, then that is a fake incorporation. That company, it's not legally trading, and that means all of these companies are not legal entities. All right, and you can see you've got Lloyds Bank companies, and you will see that from the main Lloyds Bank companies, they are so associated through directors and secretaries to these offshoot companies. Don't forget, fake bank documents, clearly fake bank documents have been acquired. This is the incorporation document for Lloyds America. You can see there's the previous. Hopefully this loads up okay. It's a bit blurred, but I've got these all saved. It's still Warm Limited, you can see, and it is Swift. Trust me, you have to take my word on that because that's gone a bit blurry for some reason. I've got those. I've got the incorporation document all saved, and Jordan's is linked to it. And there you go. You've got Lloyds of London Press Limited. Most of these are active companies. When I did this document, Swift Incorporation Limited is linked to Remember that company is linked. Lloyds of London is linked to Instant Companies again. And you can see. I don't know if this one's going to load up either. Actually, I don't know what's happening here. But this is Swift Incorporation Limited on this document. Hopefully you can just about read that one. Jordans and Sons. So you can see how this all links in to the system of fraud. Now this is how it links into the Gaza conflict at the moment. Okay, so I've shown, and this is only the tip of the iceberg. It hasn't taken me long to find this. Very quickly through from Ben Hoochin and the Teeside area has linked through to the same overlapping companies as my company. Remember, Teeside is an area that's being developed. It appears using this fraudulent system and taxpayers' money, and that potential forged bank documents could be being used to defraud taxpayers' money. Now that area is the biggest port in the country, and it's positioned perfectly to receive tankers from around the world. Now, how does that relate to the Gaza conflict? Well, back in 2021, as you can see, and you would have seen on the news, hopefully, in March 2021, the Suez Canal was blocked for 6 days by the Ever Given, a container ship that had run aground in the canal. On the 28th of March, at least 369 ships were queuing to pass through the canal, stranding an estimated $9.6 billion worth of trade. Okay, so a tanker got stuck. Now let's look at the map. This is where the Suez Canal is, over here. And this is where Israel is. Okay, and this is the Red Sea. Now, obviously, you've got Saudi Arabia. Watch my other videos in relation to David Cameron supplying Typhoon jets, BAE-related companies, BAE Systems-related, billions of pounds worth of taxpayers' money being fed through into BAE and Typhoons and linked to this fraudulent system. You'll see Finchley Road, Swift Incorporation Limited. You'll see it. So anyway, Suez Canal, there was a blockage causing significant amounts of loss in trade for America. Now that is controlled by Egypt. Egypt, I understand, could be wrong in this, own that canal, and it only allows one large vessel to pass at a time. So how does that relate? Well, there's a proposal, and there has been for a while, for the Ben Gurion Canal project. Okay, one of the original planned paths would go through the Arabia Valley, cut west before the Dead Sea Basin, through the hills, and curves north again to avoid the Gaza Strip. The US had once proposed to use some 520 nuclear bombs on the desert to help create the canal. Now let's look at that proposed route. Now here's the Suez Canal, okay, and here is the proposed. Now Israel, remember the connections to Israel there with the British, with the Americans, okay, with the people that are there, and the Gaza conflict that's happening. Now this is the proposed route, according to this article and every other one you look at. Proposed route of the Ben Gurion Canal. Now here is Gaza. Here is Gaza. Now if they could build this canal right through Gaza, okay, rather than round it, it would save billions of pounds and time and trade in those boats having to travel less. Now, unfortunately, I suspect that they're displacing the Palestinians because of this very reason. and that was a red flag or a falsified attack in collaboration with others on the 7th of October to then justify the invasion of Gaza. So this canal can go through Gaza. Now, how horrendous is that? If that's the case, and all these people are dying, then it's awful. And you can see then this will allow, as you know, the Middle East, massive for oil trade, and oil companies linked through to this, all the way through this. It will then allow that trade to go through this canal, through to Europe and through to America. Now I've got evidence of even more horrendous things that have been going on. Now you just see, it's just an article. If you're not aware of the recent Gaza conflict, you can see an armed conflict between Israel and Hamas-led Palestinian militant groups been taking place briefly in and around the Gaza Strip since 7th October 2023. The clashes are also taking place in the West Bank and Israel-Lebanon border on that day. Militant groups launched a surprise attack on southern Israel from Gaza Strip, marking the start of the most significant military escalation in the region since the UK in 1973. This must stop. This fraudulent system is linked, I've told you, to the worst things in the world. The politicians need to have no financial motive to make decisions for their own personal gain. They need to be making decisions for what is right for the general public, the environment, the world itself, and people in other countries as well. This is just unreal. And here is the evidence, and that is it didn't even take that long. It took a while to put this together on this document. But the research is very quickly all links in. There's loads more linking all of this through to this fraudulent system. It's got to stop. It can stop. I'm going to show them how it can stop. All right, it's going to be an email to MP soon. It must stop. God bless.